Final Fantasy and Wild Arms. Everyone knows Final Fantasy, but Wild Arms? Good luck finding any real hardcore fans anymore. The last release in the series was in 2008 on the PSP. It's as niche gets, but it deserves a greater spotlight to be shown on it. The first game is one of the greatest PS1 JRPGs ever made, holding its own against industry titans like Final Fantasy in terms of quality. Being a fusion of cowboy westerns, fantasy settings, and sci-fi stories, it goes without saying that Wild Arms is a pretty unique gem. The uniqueness of Wild Arms amongst its genre is made apparent just after hitting the New Game button. The player is asked to select a character. Wild Arms features 3 playable protagonists, each with their own unique stories that eventually collide. Rudy is defined by the game as a wandering youth and is exiled from his home after accidentally unleashing chaos upon the village, along with the discovery that Rudy owns a forbidden weapon known as an arm. Jack is a treasure hunter who struggles to work with anyone aside from Handpan, his mouse companion. Cecilia is a young mage who is also the princess of Filgaia and feels ostracized from society as such. All 3 characters are outcasts in their own way, whether it be due to occupation or social status. These commonalities create a believable friendship between the trio. It's hard to discuss Wild Arms' plot without giving too much away, especially since there are so few that have played it. Going in blind is probably the best option here. Being a PS1 game, it's not exactly striking from a visual standpoint. Wild Arms' art style features 3D character models in 2D environments when exploring, and full 3D during battles. The 2D environments still look great, but the 3D models can look a tad odd when placed against the picturesque backgrounds. However, it does give the game a distinctive look, and it's something that really sticks. The battle sequences look as one would expect a 3D PS1 game to look, but the designs for both the monsters and the characters are distinct enough to allow some oversight in regards to jagged polygons that form the models. There definitely needs to be a PS1 mindset going into this game in order to fully appreciate the visuals. Despite its age, Wild Arms' battle system holds up pretty well. How Wild Arms differentiates itself from other 90s JRPGs is with a meter that raises every turn, giving each character access to different moves depending on how full the meter is. It's reminiscent of a fighting game meter in a way. How the player decides to use the meter is up to them, and it creates a layer of depth and strategy not seen in other JRPGs. Traditional HP and MP are here too, but Rudy's arm has a little layer of depth to itself. It misses quite frequently and needs to be loaded. Rudy has no MP whatsoever. Ammunition is his MP. When not engaged in combat, the player can take control of all 3 characters at will and take advantage of their unique abilities. Rudy can place bombs that destroy obstacles, Jack can use Handpan to grab faraway items or activate pressure plates, and Cecilia can activate magic doors or rewind time. There are even some abilities that are added as the game progresses. It's fun switching between all 3 characters while solving puzzles in a dungeon because it feels like each character is important. It's always great when a game can make characters feel important, rather than just telling the player they're important. Meanwhile, the overworld can get a little confusing without a guide, but the game's soundtrack is so good it makes scouring the open world feel more like an adventure than just getting lost. The cowboy western influences on the game are extraordinarily apparent in the game's soundtrack. Whistling, guitars, and desert melodies make up some of Wild Arms' most memorable tunes, with the overworld theme being an almost one-to-one replica of Ennio Morricone's Ecstasy of Gold, from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's also pretty hard not to air drum during the beginning of the game's main battle theme. The town themes are reminiscent of the Legend of Zelda's soundtrack, and the soundtrack overall has a Final Fantasy VI feeling to it. Final Fantasy VI, The Legend of Zelda, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly are as fine musical influences as there ever will be, and Wild Arms pays homage to these influences incredibly well. The last game in the Wild Arms series was Wild Arms XF, released on the PSP in North America in 2008. It's been nearly 10 years. Wild Arms is a PlayStation IP. Sony already has most of the PS4's lifecycle planned out, with only a few remaining variables left. Where's Wild Arms 6? Well, according to PlayStationLifestyle.net, they spotted NeoGAF users posting job listings for an RPG that, quote, blends sci-fi with the Wild West, end quote. The website continues to note that, quote, the company's name was kept out of the listing, but the job's location is posted as the Koto district of Kiba, Tokyo, which is where the Wild Arms developer Media.Vision is based, end quote. It's also worth noting that, once again, according to PlayStationLifestyle.net, some key development staff expressed interest in reviving the franchise back in 2015. Wild Arms may not be dead after all, but it's not safe to say it's alive either. Only thing to do is hope for its return and enjoy the existing games in the meantime. Welcome to the end slate of this video. I will be your tour guide, Mr. Ronspies, and I'm going to take you to a faraway land and introduce you to a thing called Patreon.com. What is Patreon? Blah blah blah. Every YouTuber in the world is doing this Patreon thing, but I know every YouTuber is doing this, and it honestly feels a little weird pimping out my Patreon page, but I just made it. I just want to call attention to it, say, yo, if you want to toss a few bucks at it, get some exclusivity of some kind, feel free, go ahead. I won't hurt you. I won't beg you more than this. I just merely, like I said, just wanted to call attention to it. YouTubing is something that I'm really passionate about, but I just don't have enough hours in the day and enough, monetary... I have no monetary investment in YouTube whatsoever. I'm not making any money yet, but maybe that could change with Patreon. I'd love to have it be more of a focus in my life, but like I said, it's not making me any money at the moment, so it's a little hard to prioritize posting video after video and making time for it when there's no monetary incentive going behind it. That's why this episode of Love Letter went up pretty darn late. It was because I just got swamped with work. I have a job, believe it or not, and so that takes time as well. That eats up a huge portion of my time. So I'd love to dedicate more time to this. Make sure we get each episode out Friday morning, 10 a.m. Central Time, earlier if you're a patron, and even some more goodies if you're a $10 up patron. So feel free to, or I forget the tiers already. I just made the website. So. This is awkward, so I'm going to end this now. Thank you for watching. Thanks for staying by. Check out my Patreon, and I'll see you next time.